They always greeted me with smiles that stretched just a bit too far. "You're so humble," Sharon once said, her eyes scanning the sleeves of my H&M blouse. Lucas always preferred grounded girls. Grounded, her way of saying poor. I never corrected her. Not when she assumed my parents were teachers from some working-class neighborhood. Not when she called my old Toyota your little car. Not even when she handed me a cookbook titled Budget Dinners for the Modern Wife. I kept quiet, smiled, nodded, poured her more wine, and left feeling enraged. My name is Katie Monroe, now Ashcrafttoft, after marrying Lucas 3 years ago. We met through mutual friends at a fundraiser, and things clicked instantly. We shared similar tastes in music, dry humor, and came from small private schools with too many extracurriculars. What Lucas didn't realize was that while his family appeared wealthy, mine genuinely was. But we didn't flaunt it. My father, Edward Monroe, built a tech security firm from his college dorm room and sold it before I graduated from New York University. My mother serves on the boards of 3 nonprofits and manages our family office with precision. They always taught me to keep wealth discreet. Real wealth, my mother said, doesn't make noise. It signs the check quietly and walks away. When Lucas asked me to stay home for a year, I agreed. He wanted a different kind of life. Something grounded, safe, and loving, away from his parents' influence. I didn't realize that meant stepping into a life where his family would treat me like an unfortunate charity case. The first year was fine. Lucas worked at a private logistics firm, separate from his family's business, while I ran our home. I didn't mind it. I even enjoyed it. I cooked, redecorated, volunteered, and kept a low profile. We visited his family occasionally. His mother, Sharon, asked polite but loaded questions, while his sister, Allison, treated me like her personal assistant. "You're free all day, right?" she once said, handing me her dry cleaning slip. I didn't complain. But after that first year, things began to change. They started hinting at kids, Lucas taking over the family business, Ashcrafttoft Freight and Supply Company. A company on the brink of irrelevance. Sharon wanted an heir who could modernize the brand, but Lucas declined. He enjoyed his job and didn't want to take over a company running on fumes and arrogance. They blamed me. "Lucas used to be so driven," Sharon said one day, pretending not to look at me. "He's different now. Maybe it's domestic life." Allison added, "I'm sure Katie means well, but maybe she doesn't understand what's at stake." I said nothing. Each time I visited their estate, it felt like I was playing a small part in a poorly written sitcom, with the laugh track of their smirks behind wine glasses. Eventually I stopped going. For the last 2 Christmases, I returned to my parents' estate in New Hampshire. Lucas came once, but last year he stayed behind, citing work stress. Sharon didn't mind. "It's probably for the best," she said. "Our guests expect a certain standard." She meant me. I wasn't the right kind of wife for Showtime. So when my phone rang one cold Tuesday morning in early December and Sharon's name appeared, I almost laughed. Still, I answered, maybe out of habit. "Katie," Sharon chirped. "How lovely to hear from you. We've been thinking, it's time you join us for Christmas." I blinked in disbelief. "Seriously?" I asked. "Oh yes," she replied. "We're hosting a small gathering, just family and a few business associates. Very relaxed. But it would mean a lot if you and Lucas came." I had to point out, "You've never invited me before." She chuckled. "Well, things change. It's time to present a united front. Besides, I think it would be good for Lucas." There it was. "And you want me there as what? A decoration? A prop?" I asked. "Katie," she said sweetly, "don't be dramatic. Just wear something festive. Red suits you. You looked lovely that Christmas when you wore that little knit sweater." My jaw tightened. I hung up muttering, "We'll see." That night, Lucas came home late, his tie loose, his eyes heavy. I didn't wait long before saying, "Your mother wants us to come for Christmas." He winced. "I figured," he said. "Why now?" I pressed. "After all this time," he hesitated. "Dad's business is in trouble. Bad trouble. They lost a few major contracts. The investors are getting nervous because of his spending." He paused. "There are some accounting irregularities too. The board is pushing for leadership change. Someone new. Someone with a better reputation. I stared at him. She wants you. He quickly added. Only symbolically. She thinks if I show up looking stable, it'll calm everyone down. And she wants you there too. I looked at him, the man who once said he loved my quiet strength. What? Hold your hand while you pretend to save the family empire. I asked. It's just one dinner, he said. The same man who stood by while his mother dragged me year after year without ever once stepping in, now stood there hesitant. I'll go, I said. But I'm not doing this their way. He looked uneasy. Katie, no, he said. They've spent 3 years mocking me to my face, laughing at my clothes, whispering about my background. Maybe it's time they saw who I really am. Lucas looked worried. Please, don't do anything embarrassing. I assured him, don't worry. I'm going to give them exactly what they've always wanted. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to a number I hadn't called since our wedding. Mr. Graham, hi, it's Katie Ashcraft-Toft. Yes, I'll need the Bentley next week, along with the driver. Make sure the car is cleaned and polished. We'll be attending a family event. I hung up and glanced at Lucas, whose face had gone pale. That car is yours, I said. They think I married into money. Let's show them what marrying up really looks like. The Bentley arrived at the Ashcraft-Toft estate 5 minutes ahead of schedule. Their house was just as I remembered. Grand but cold, overgrown, with white pillars, a long gravel driveway, and 2 fountains that hadn't worked since 2019. It was one of those places that tried hard to appear grander than it was, just like Sharon herself. I stepped out first, taking in the crisp, pine-scented air that reeked of expensive, curated suburbia. Lucas followed, adjusting his cufflinks, quiet the whole ride. Every time he spoke, he seemed to regret it. The driver handed me my coat, a dark green cashmere piece with a structured collar, custom-made, discreetly branded. The front door opened just as we reached the steps. And there she was, Sharon Ashcraft-Toft, wearing a cranberry red dress with shoulder pads from 1986 and a pearl necklace that probably wasn't real. Her gaze shifted between the car, the driver, and me, before her lips parted. There was a pause. Well, she said, her smile twitching. That's quite the arrival. Good evening, Sharon, I greeted her. You look festive. Lucas offered a soft greeting behind me. Sharon ignored him, still staring at the Bentley like it was about to explode. You took Lucas's car? She asked, a hint of surprise in her tone. I smiled back. No, it's mine. Her eyes darted, but before she could speak, a voice from inside called out. Is that them? Are the peasants here? Allison appeared in the doorway moments later, a drink in her hand, her blonde hair aggressively curled, and her impractical heels clicking on the floor. She looked me up and down, then at the car, then back at me. Did someone die and leave you an oil field? Sharon quickly stepped in. Come in, come in. We're finishing up hors d'oeuvres. We have other guests arriving soon. Don't mind Allison. She's had a couple of spritzers. The main room was decorated to impress, with gold ribbons, real pine garlands, flickering candles, and tall hurricane vases. I spotted 2 men near the fireplace, minor local investors who still held enough influence to impress Sharon. As we walked toward them, Sharon leaned in close, whispering, Please, Katie, let Lucas do the talking. Don't, how do I put it, overcomplicate things. I gave her a tight-lipped smile. Wouldn't dream of it. Sharon ushered us in like royalty. Everyone, this is my son Lucas and his wife Katie. Lucas will be taking a more active role in our company next year, and we couldn't be prouder. Lucas gave a stiff nod, and I kept my expression neutral. One of the men, Dale, extended his hand. So you're the man of the hour? He said. Lucas managed a half-smile. That's what I'm told. I leaned in before Sharon could steer the conversation. And you must be the investor willing to take a risk if the company gets its act together. Dale blinked. I'm sorry. Sharon let out a brittle laugh. Katie likes to joke. No joke, I replied smoothly. We heard there's financing available if the company changes leadership. I'm assuming one of you is the source of that optimism. The room went quiet. Dale looked at the other man, who shrugged. I don't know what you've been told, Dale said carefully, but we're not funding anything without a formal audit and a credible turnaround plan. I nodded, acknowledging. Right. That's what I thought. Sharon grabbed my elbow so quickly I almost dropped my clutch. Excuse us for a moment, she hissed, yanking me into the hallway and slamming the door behind us. What the hell was that? She demanded. I asked a question. I shot back. You ambushed my guests. You lied to your son. Her face flushed. You think you're clever, don't you? She spat. I think I'm tired of pretending I don't know what's going on. You're here because we allowed you here. I smiled. No, Sharon. I'm here because you needed me here. There's a difference. The door creaked open. Lucas peeked in. Is everything okay? Tell your wife to stop interfering, Sharon snapped. Lucas turned to me. Katie, can we not do this now? I walked past them both and back into the room. The guests were sipping their drinks, pretending they hadn't heard the shouting. I gently clinked a glass. May I say something? Sharon stepped forward. Katie, but it was too late. I want to formally extend my offer to help reorganize Ashcraft Freight and Supply. Effective immediately, I'll take on the role of interim CEO. The room went still. Sharon's mouth opened, closed, and opened again. Lucas looked stunned as if I'd slapped him. You're not qualified, Sharon said flatly. I have a master's in finance, 10 years of corporate restructuring experience, and access to capital. I replied, smiling wider. But sure, let the investors decide if I'm qualified. One of the guests even chuckled. I walked over to the sideboard and poured myself a drink. But I'll need full operational control. No shadow boards, no ceremonial titles, no interference. Meaning you'll take charge without taking on any debt? Allison sneered. I turned to face her. You catch on fast, I said. Lucas stepped forward. You'd really do this? You'd run the company? He asked. I met his eyes and said, if I'm doing this, I'm doing it my way. He hesitated. But it's still our family's company, he said. No, Lucas. It's your parents' company. I'm just the one willing to pick up the pieces. He stared at me as if he didn't recognize me anymore, and I didn't blame him. The version of me who used to tolerate their snide remarks, shallow cruelty, backhanded gifts, and whispered jokes was gone. Sharon broke the silence. Fine, she said tightly. We'll draw up the paperwork tomorrow. You can have your little power trip. I drained my glass and set it down. Oh no, Sharon. This isn't a power trip. This is an audit. By noon the next day, I had the documents ready. It wasn't difficult. My family's lawyer, Mitchell Graham, had them prepared overnight, clean, legal, and specific. Sharon skimmed the pages as if she were glancing at a restaurant menu, already knowing what she wanted. Lucas pretended to read, and Allison fiddled with her phone. No mention of debt assumption, Sharon muttered. I smiled politely. Because I'm not assuming any. Sharon raised an eyebrow. That's not how this works. It is when you're the one with leverage. She didn't argue. She just signed. So did Lucas. And even though Allison didn't hold a real position, she insisted on witnessing the signing. The ink hadn't dried before Sharon leaned back and exhaled. Thank God. We can finally breathe. I didn't respond because I wasn't here to help them breathe. 2 days later, I called my first staff meeting. I sat at the head of a long, battered conference table in a glass-walled room overlooking the warehouse floor. Most of the employees looked drained, some looked angry, and a few were clearly shocked to see me sitting in the spot where Howard Ashcraft had ruled for decades. I introduced myself formally, then said the thing that truly caught their attention. I'm not here to wear pearls and sip cocktails at fundraisers. I'm here to clean house. That includes leadership roles that haven't served any real purpose for years. If you've been paid to exist, not to work, you'll be reassigned or replaced. No one spoke, but several exchanged glances that clearly said, finally. I continued, we'll operate under a lean model. Bonuses will be tied to performance, not bloodlines. Company credit cards will be revoked and reissued under new policy. And yes, there will be an external audit, voluntary this time. By the time I finished, the room was quiet, but it wasn't the tense silence from before. It was an unfamiliar calm, like they were waiting to see if this was real. As the meeting ended, Carl, one of the warehouse leads, muttered to a colleague, maybe now this place has a shot. I heard it. I was meant to. That night, Lucas cornered me in the parking lot. He looked exhausted, but not from work, more from seeing control slip from his grasp. You made a spectacle, he said. I didn't stop walking. I made the company solvent. You embarrassed my mother. She embarrassed herself. He grabbed my arm, not hard, but firm. I looked at his hand, and he let go. What's happening to you? He asked. I looked him straight in the eye. I stopped playing poor so your family could feel rich. It hit him. He stared at me speechless. You said you wanted stability, Lucas. I'm giving it to you, but I'm not doing it with my head down and my voice quiet. He shoved his hands in his pockets. You think you're better than us? He asked. No. I know I am. He stepped back as though I'd slapped him. I didn't wait for more. I got into the car, closed the door, and told the driver to take me home. The final blow came a week later, when I called a shareholders meeting. It was legally symbolic since I now held executive power, but emotionally significant. I presented a financial summary. 3/4 of the operating loss had come from Sharon and Allison's spending. Designer consulting trips, luxury office redecorations, unauthorized bonuses. The numbers spoke for themselves. Then I handed out termination notices, effective immediately. Sharon and Allison were stripped of all honorary roles, stipends, and access. They shrieked. You can't do this, Sharon gasped, standing up. I just did. We're family, she said. No, I replied. We were in-laws. You made it clear I was never one of you. Now I'm making it official. She turned to Lucas. Say something. Lucas didn't speak. He just stared at the table. That's when she snapped. You conniving little climber. She spat at me. We gave you everything. You gave me condescension and kitchen towels for Christmas, I said. In return, I saved your name from being dragged through court records. Allison paced, muttering, This is fraud. It's fraud, right? Can someone Google that? I stood, collected my folder, and nodded to the room. You'll receive final instructions by email. Goodbye. Lucas showed up at my apartment the next day. He looked even more lost than before. You didn't have to go this far. I went exactly as far as I needed. He stepped inside uninvited. I let him in one last time. You still have money, right? He asked quietly. From your parents? I stared at him. He didn't look ashamed, just hopeful. You could help pay down the rest of the corporate debt, he said. Just until we recover. I mean, it's still your name on the CEO line. I laughed, a cold sound. Get out. He blinked. Katie, I'm not your bailout. You said you wanted to fix the company. I did. It's fixed and it's yours now. You're walking away. I handed him an envelope. Divorce papers signed. My lawyer's expecting yours by Friday. You planned this, he asked. No. You planned to humiliate me. I just chose not to let you finish. He stood there clutching the envelope like it was made of glass. You lied to me, he said. No, I replied. I just never corrected your assumption. He left without slamming the door and didn't look back. A month later, Sharon filed for bankruptcy. The house was foreclosed. Allison tried selling luxury consulting packages on Instagram, but no one bought them. Ashcraft Freight and Supply, however, was operational, trimmed, restructured, lean. The same employees who used to whisper during lunch now sent me spreadsheets early and stayed late without being asked. Those who stayed believed in the future because now there was one. I didn't stay on as CEO forever. That was never the point. But I stayed long enough to implement the right systems and long enough to send a clear message. If you mistake quiet for weak, you're not just wrong, you're already losing.